Hey guys, welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. I'm your host, Harry Wilmington. And on today's show, I'm going to take you through a journey. And it's the journey of the feelings and emotional roller coaster that a woman will oftentimes have to go through in order to go from just dating you and seeing you as a potential possible relationship to somebody that she legitimately wants as her boyfriend. And we're not always privy to what that journey looks like because we don't know necessarily what's going on in the heads of women. Like, I've dated long enough to be able to explain to you guys, these are the things that women are possibly thinking and or feeling during this time. And I tell you guys all the time that on average, it takes a woman 2 to 3 months to solidify her feelings enough for you to want to be in a relationship. But what is happening in her head during that 2 to 3 months? What is she going through? What is she thinking about? What is she analyzing? Is she having anxiety of her own? How is she confident about you or confident about herself? What do those things look like? And how do those things come together to make her ultimately choose you as the guy she wants to get with? Well, I'm going to read today an example. And what happened was basically in doing my research for these type of shows, I always go on Reddit and look up stories and things. And so there was a woman that had a 2-part post. In the first part, she was in her head wondering if she was sure about if the guy that she was currently dating was one that she wanted long term, but she couldn't figure out what it was that was holding her back or why she was thinking about him possibly not being that guy. And then in an updated post, she talks about what she ended up doing with this guy that made her all of a sudden realize how much she wanted him in her life. And I'm giving this to you guys because for those of you that are not in the practice of being patient, maybe waiting a little bit until the woman comes to you to start confessing feelings and asking for a relationship, you might not be aware of what's actually going on behind the scenes in her head that would even lead her to that decision. And so you're thinking you got to force it, you got to have all these conversations, you got to see her all the time. But as I've said on the show, those things can tend to chase women away. Why is that? And then what is it that she actually needs to happen instead that's going to make her feel of her own accord, as if it's her own choice, that she wants to choose you? Let's go ahead and get into that. As always, for these shows, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com. Go there now to get a free copy of my ebook, No Girls For You, the ultimate guide to losing the girl of your dreams, simply by signing up for my video coaching newsletter. And of course, if you have questions that you want answered on one of these shows, write to me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. So here is the first post that she posted, okay? And I'll stop here and there to talk on about some things that she's thinking about, okay? So the title of her first post was, How Long Before You Feel Sure About Someone? All right, here's her story. She says, I've been seeing this guy for a few months now, and I've been unsure about us being right for each other long term. I enjoy his company, we get along well, and I'm definitely developing feelings for him. He has some amazing positive traits and has treated me well so far. He has also made concrete efforts to meet my needs every time I express them, becoming more responsive and frequent in communicating with me, opening up about his past, seeing each other more. He's warm, loving, and tries to make life a little bit easier, which I'm not used to, but man, is it nice. Then why don't I feel sure about him? So let me stop here. So part of the reason she's not feeling sure is because if she's saying that she's not used to this kind of treatment, when you come across a woman that has in the past had a lot of bad relationships, she may come to you and you might be one of those guys that actually wants to treat her well and listen to her and change up things based on what her needs are. And her first thought you would think would be, this is great. I'm finally getting what I want. But oftentimes what I found is that instead a woman will think, this is too good to be true. What's the trick here? When is the other shoe going to drop? And so if you are genuinely a guy that's nice and that is gentlemanly, it might actually take a woman longer to be able to get to the point where she starts wanting to be in a relationship with you, in part because she's so not believing that you are the way you are, that she may need a little bit more time to actually vet you to see if you really are as different from these other guys as you're portraying that you are, or if this is all some kind of lie to just get sex from her, to use it for her money, etc., okay? So, unfortunately, if you're a nicer guy in the dating realm, you may have to just date a woman a little bit longer before she starts feeling comfortable. But as I always tell you guys, as long as she's accepting dates and not flaking and going on them, then just recognize that you are good. At the point where she finally realizes that she really does see you and trust you enough to want to be in a relationship, she will come to you with that "what are we" conversation, okay? So just know that you're still in the game as long as she's still going out with you. But continuing on. So she says, every time I feel the need to push a little further in the relationship, I spend days pondering whether to do it, if it's worth it, and whether he'll halt me and respond poorly. And then in parentheses, she says, this still hasn't happened. I want him to ask about me, but every time he does, and then in parentheses, she says rarely, but it has become a little more frequent, in parentheses, I stumble upon my words. I'm used to having very close friends with whom I have deep, long, sometimes existential conversations with, and it's just not happening with him. When I don't see him for a while, I start feeling like he's a stranger, and then it goes away when we meet up just to come back later. So what she's saying right here is that when he goes away for a while, it's like he's not there. So all of a sudden she's like, okay, well, maybe he's not liking me, or maybe, maybe I don't feel as close to him as I need to be, or whatever. But then as soon as they hang out again, all those feelings come rushing back. So what's happening? And this is what I tell you guys, this is why it's important to really space yourself out between the times that you're seeing her, is because you might hear this and think, well, yeah, if she's losing feelings for him every time she doesn't see him. But what's happening is every time that she sees him, she's getting a dopamine hit and she's not recognizing it. But it's like when he comes around, he shows her a great time, makes her feel all these wonderful things, and then he goes away. So when he's gone, it's like, okay, well, I don't know what to feel. He's not here, so whatever. But then those things come rushing back each time. So the more times this guy's seeing her, but being able to space it out, then what's happening is each time that dopamine hit that she needs to want to connect to him and see him is coming faster and faster each time, to where she'll start wondering what's going on. I know I'm feeling things for him when he's here, but when he's not here, I don't know quite what I'm feeling and what's going on. And you may think, as a guy, that's very confusing. But I have found just in my dating life that giving women that emotional roller coaster will oftentimes get them to want to go out with you a lot faster. And it's not that you're even necessarily doing anything other than simply living your life. You're seeing her and having a good time, but you're not giving up your life for her. You're going to work. You're seeing friends and family outside of her. And so you need other days to do that, which may be like 3 or 4 days before you get back to her. And that's actually going to help you allow her to sit there and think more about you, okay? You need to give her time to sit and ponder, why does she feel a certain way about you? How is she feeling about you? Are her feelings as strong as she thinks they are or not? Whatever. And that's gonna help build a lot faster than you being in the picture all the time, okay? But continuing on, she says, I'm alone on this roller coaster. He seems absolutely fine with how things are. Stable, reliable even. But I still don't feel sure. Sure, this is right for me. Sure, he's trustworthy. Sure, we have a common ground on how we see the world. Sure that I have a good grasp of who this person is at his core. So notice what she's saying. She's saying that as far as he's concerned, everything's great. And in fact, it's so great, he's being stable and reliable. Meanwhile, she's having this up and down of what do I feel? I'm not sure about things, yada, yada, yada. So here's the thing, guy. Even if you are a guy that's in your head and not quite 100% sure of where she is or where this thing's going or whatever, of the two of you, she can err on the side of being unsure and being not too completely confident about where things are, whatever. You, however, always need to be that rock. You need to be the one that has that neutral baseline of like, everything's okay, everything's stable, everything's fine. Because if you guys are both going haywire on your emotions, well, what's going to happen is she's going to read off of you. So if she's going haywire, and then she looks over to you and you're also being haywire, this is only going to lessen her confidence in how well this thing could potentially be. Whereas if she's going all haywire and she looks to you and you seem like everything's fine, everything's going great, on a subconscious level, that's going to give her reassurance that this boat is not going to tip over and sink into the water, okay? Because by you displaying confidence and by you displaying stability, which women actually want in the long term anyway, then she's gonna know that when things are going, all topsy-turvy in her world, that she can rely on you to come to you, to talk to you, and to be that calming presence that she needs to get her ship back steady, okay? So her ship can go steady, can go all around the world it wants to and can be flip-flopping and tossy-turvying, but you cannot do that. And so this guy's actually being correct where he's just being stable, he's being reliable, he's not pushing any kind of major agenda. His emotional state seems like he's one that's very calm and cool and collected, and that's ultimately what healthy women want out of a healthy relationship. Now, those women that are toxic, that thrive on chaos and stuff like that, well, you shouldn't be dating those women anyway. And if you are, you should still be stable and not try to become chaotic just to please her. All right. Continuing on, she says, I thought it was normal at this stage, but I recently talked to some friends and they told me they were sure, or at least sure enough, pretty early on. So I come here to ask, how long does it take for you to feel that sureness about the person you're seeing? Have you ever had this kind of feeling? And if so, how did it turn out in the end? So this is where this first message ends. There, she's unsure. She's not aware of what's going on with her emotionally. She doesn't know why, despite how great this guy is and how stable he is, why she's feeling these things, okay? So when you're dating a woman, these are the kind of thoughts and feelings she may be having early on. So can you start to see why maybe after that second week of dating her that you should not be trying to bring up a relationship conversation? You should not be trying to ask her what her feelings are or where she's at or where she sees this thing going. Because in that 3-month process of dating you, she's going to have a roller coaster of emotions and feelings that she's going to have to try to, claw and navigate her way through to be able to finally get a clear picture of what's going on. And if you, in the process of her trying to do that, come in with things that could distract her from being able to do that and actually make it seem like you're trying to force her to come to conclusions without her naturally being able to do it, it can result in a woman saying, well, it's been 2 weeks, but I'm not where he's at, and I still don't completely know my feelings, but he seems to already know them, so I guess I should be out. Or he's really forced me to feel things that I'm not ready to feel. I'm still trying to process, and he's not letting me process, so now I feel myself starting to lose interest, and I'm out. Okay? And they might not be able to verbalize it that way, but that's what's happening when you're trying to come to them too soon and push a relationship. So this is why I say you should just already have it in your head that it's going to take this woman at least 3 months before she's ready for any kind of relationship talk, okay? And that way, if the talk happens to come within 2 months, when she brings it up to you, that's totally fine also, but you just project out 3 months. That way you're not gonna be thinking to yourself that you gotta rush this thing into a relationship so early on in the dating process, all right? So, a month later, she gave an update to this situation, all right? And so she said on the Reddit post that it received so much attention that she thought that we deserved a follow-up. So she says, she says, I thought about breaking things off and the idea pained me. So instead, I did something I was still not 100% comfortable with. I introduced him to a friend. And I know it can sound lame, but in my adult life, I've never gotten to the point where I was able to get over the anxiety of other people's judgment over my choices in partners. This time, I wanted to push through. So she's going to introduce this guy to a friend of hers to kind of get some feedback and see what's what. Not that I recommend that you do that, by the way. I recommend that you date a woman for 3 months, and then at the point you get into a relationship, then start bringing her around friends, and then later down the line, family, okay? But anyway, continuing on, she says, so first I asked him, my friend R invited me to go meet his new girlfriend. Do you want to join? I was sure he'd come up with an excuse not to because, again, she's projecting. She's projecting that this guy is going to eventually slip up and do some kind of mistake that all these other past guys made, and so she's already got this in her head. This is how this guy's going to react, okay? But instead, he agreed right away. He checked more than once the day and time because, in his words, quote, I don't want to be late and embarrass you in front of your friends, end quote. I was expecting to be struck by some huge flaw of his I hadn't noticed before. Instead, he was lovely the whole night. He insisted to pay for drinks. He got along well with R and his girlfriend. On our way back, he said R had told him something along the lines of, this girl's a nice person and I can see she's found a good guy. So cheesy. And he was so daggone happy to have received those words of affirmation from someone so close to me. I could see it. I realized he had known for a while that R, her friend, was my ex. And he had never expressed jealousy or controlling behavior. Instead, he said, quote, I can see you're happy around him and I'm glad you have such a good friend. And he meant it. So this guy is doing a lot. Like, he knew that the guy friend that he was being introduced to was actually her ex-boyfriend, didn't fly off the handle, actually had a great time with the guy, said he was a nice guy to be around. Like, he showed no signs of jealousy, and from the sounds of it, it sounds like he actually meant that stuff, okay? Now, you as the guy, I mean, I teach you guys time and time again, ideally, you're not dating women that keep ex-boyfriends in the background. Obviously, that's going to be situational depending on if you guys really truly just broke it off, if you guys maybe never hooked up, or even if you did, you guys are both in a place now where he's moved on to somebody else and she's moved on to you, obviously. I don't recommend it personally, but again, that's the call that you got to make. But even with that, she expected all this negative stuff to happen because, again, of past situations, and none of it happened, and he was a lovely guy. So what happened? She says, then it clicked. I realized I had been expecting the worst of this poor guy since the day I met him, and all he had shown me was kindness and care. The more I grew to like him, the more I got panicky and thought the whole thing was destined to turn sour. Based on what evidence? So here's the evidence he'd been collecting, okay? When a condom broke and we had to discuss what we do in case of pregnancy, and I was afraid his religion would make him rule out abortion, he took my hands and said, we'd do what I wanted and he'd be there either way. When I got the chance to score a new big client, he asked me about every development and said he was sure I'd get it because I'm, quote, smart, capable, and hardworking, end quote. When the handle of my fridge broke, he fixed it. When I first told him about the reasons I'd been in therapy for the last 2 years, he was warm and accepting. He asked, when is my birthday 2 weeks after I met him? He's asked to meet more of my friends. When his health was acting up and I was worried that if something happened to him, I'd never know, he gave my number to one of his friends and told him to contact me if he ever was in a situation where he couldn't. He has cooked for me and made sure I have enough leftovers to bring to work the next day. So basically, this woman's looking at all of these situations, and even though in all these situations, he's giving the actual right response, because of her past situations, she's still thinking, this is too good to be true. This is too good to be true. And so I know for you nice guys, the ones that are legitimately nice, that genuinely want the best for women they're dating, it can be really, really hard to sit there and think about the idea that a woman might be thinking, you're too good to be true, and eventually something's going to happen that's bad, all right? And so, like I said, the downside of that is that she may need more time with you than with other guys who were jerks or who were bad boys, but at least she knew what she was getting out of them. She might need more time with you just to really, really solidify in her head that, hey, a guy like you actually exists. A guy that actually wants to treat her like gentlemanly and with respect and actually respect boundaries and be kind to her friends and be cool with her and give her surprises. Like, that can actually take a while to get used to. So don't discount the fact that most women actually have crappy dating lives and crappy relationships where they don't get a lot, where they're the ones that are expected to basically mother the guy that they're with and do all this stuff and plan all the dates and, basically bow down to him and not get anything in return. Like, there are plenty of women that settle for those kind of relationships because that's all that they think is out there, because that's all that they see. So when they come across you, it may take them some time to adjust to that. And the worst thing you can do in those situations is try to force and make her feel like, I'm already a nice guy, you should already just trust me. Trust takes time to build. And if previous guys have messed up that trust, then the downside is you gotta, possibly date her a little bit longer before she builds up that trust. But the good news is, once she has actually built up that trust and has had time in with you to see that you are legitimately the guy that you say you are, then that's going to be a woman that's going to stick by you for life. Why? Because after going through all the pains of previous guys and being able to date somebody like you, she already knows that if she leaves you, that what's out there is not going to be good for her. So she's going to be more apt to want to stay with you long term. So that's why it's okay if it might take her 4 or 5 months of dating you before she really wants to, solidify her feelings for you and settle down with you in that way. Okay? So give it time and don't rush it. Continuing on, she says, after our first few weeks together, he kissed me on the eyes, and I jokingly told him what my mother taught me. When you kiss someone on the eyes, it's the last time you'll see them. He has never done that again. There. That's the evidence I had that made me so distrustful. I did it all on my own. I felt like such an idiot. I was such an idiot. But after that night, it just clicked. I was relieved. I took a deep breath, and relaxed. And it worked out like magic. Everything fell into place. We're going out more. We're talking more. I can actually fall asleep next to him. So what's happened? Now that she's been able to really vet this guy thoroughly, he didn't come rushing in trying to have the what are we conversation, why aren't we in a relationship yet conversation, et cetera, et cetera. He just kind of went with the flow of things. It gave her time to go on the journey that she needed to go in during those 3 or 4 months before she could finally feel at a place where I have peace, I have calm, this guy is definitely one I can trust. I had my own worries that I had to go through, but I'm past those now. Maybe she even talked to her therapist about what was going on and why she was feeling these certain things. But the point is, he gave her time to work all this stuff out to where when she was ready to come to him, it could be a decision she was making with no hesitation and without feeling like she has to do it because he's going to have hurt feelings if she doesn't choose him as the boyfriend, all right? Continuing, she says, a few nights ago, we were joking, and I told him, quote, by the way, I think you're my boyfriend now. No answer. Then she says, if you agree, I was almost ready to retreat and pass it as a big joke. He laughed and said, quote, you were my girlfriend since the first night I spent with you, end quote. Not a hint of resentment. It made my heart ache. So, notice that this guy, in his head, He did like what most of us guys do. After 2 or 3 good dates, I'm already feeling that you're my girlfriend. But notice he did not verbalize that. Why? Because he was smart enough to recognize that even if he's feeling that this is the only girl for him, and if he's feeling like this is the only woman he wants to be exclusive with, he's not going to try to see any other women. He has made that choice. He was smart enough not to verbalize it. Why? Because it doesn't matter what your feelings are, guy. I don't care if you feel like by night 3 or 4 that you're already ready to wipe this girl up. If she's not there yet, then this cannot work out in your favor. So you have to give her the chance to get to where you're at. And as I tell you guys all the time, as men, we're going to probably assess women a little bit differently and already qualify them as potential girlfriend material after like 1 or 2 dates. Like real talk. They treat us well. They talk to us nice. They might hook up with us. We're already ready to be in a relationship. But even if you're feeling those things, and if you start thinking, okay, in my head, she's already my girlfriend, until she comes to you and starts having that talk about what kind of relationship we're in, even if you're feeling like she's your girlfriend, you do not verbalize that crap. Of the 2 of you, she needs to be the one to verbalize first. Hey, so are you my boyfriend? Hey, so what are we? Yada, yada, yada. Otherwise, you risk it being too soon. And he could have chased her off by night 2, bringing up this crap about we should already be in a relationship. We should already be exclusive. Are you still seeing other people? What's going on? All right. Be more confident that she's going to be able to get to that step on her own accord. Continuing, she says, that's it. I still don't know where this is headed, but I'm okay with just letting it play out and live in the moment. But at least now, I'm sure this is the person I want to be with right now. So a lot of people left comments under this thing, and she left a comment response to somebody else left a comment. The comment that the other person said doesn't really matter, but she added a little bit extra to this, and she says, I've been worrying so much about why he didn't seem to push the long-term talk that I failed to figure that he is exactly like me. He doesn't rush and doesn't want to. Takes life day by day and is okay with that. In parentheses, she says his legal position in the country kind of forces him to, in parentheses. She says, once we talked about it and figured it out, I felt so much calmer about the whole thing. Okay? But notice what she said again. She had been worrying about why he didn't push the talk. Okay? And the reason he didn't push the talk is because he's probably had experience in the past whereby he pushed it too soon, she wasn't ready, and it ended. So again, as long as she's accepting dates, continuing to hang out with you, even if she has this emotional turmoil going on in her head, she's trying to figure out what she feels about things, you're still the bedded rock of just calmness and evenness in her life and stability. And the more she starts to like you, she's going to start thinking, I really like him now. Okay, I'm starting to feel things. I think I want to be in a relationship, but he's not bringing it up. What does this mean? Why isn't he bringing it up? Does he really want me? And that level of anxiousness, the thought she's going to have about having to talk to you, again, that emotional roller coaster that's being provided technically by you, but you're not doing anything other than just sitting there and waiting for her to come to the conclusion that you already came to on date 1 or 2, okay? But you have to let that happen, because a woman that likes you and legitimately sees you as a long-term partner is not going to want to let you go. Is going to want to have those talks about the seriousness of your guys' bond and connection, because she doesn't want you claiming somebody else. So she's going to want you to put a title upon her to claim her so she can be a taken woman by you who she likes, because you allowed her that time to get there with her feelings, okay? So I just thought that would be an interesting little insight for you guys about just one example of the many ways that women will go through the emotional journey of feelings and emotions that they have to go through necessarily in order to finally realize that you are the guy for them. And it's not a journey that you can rush. Some women will go through that journey in a span of like 1 or 2 months. Some women need 5 or 6 months. But the point is, you have to go with that at her pace. So again, you're getting dates, you're getting hookups, you're hanging out, you're seeing her. When you first start dating, it should be like 1 or 2 times a week. As you get to know her more and you're seeing her like the 2nd or 3rd month, she will start suggesting more days of the week to see you, at which point you know it's okay to bump it up to like 3 or 4 times a week. But again, you wait for her to come to you. And when she starts saying, what are we? Where's this going? That should let you know that the journey she needed to go through in order to realize that she wants to be your girlfriend is finally done, at which point you can now have that conversation. But that's what that journey looks like in one example, okay? So hopefully this helped you guys out. Now, if you need to get into the practice or learn how to be less anxious, how to be a calmer, more patient dater, and maybe how to get out of your own head and not rush things so much to where you end up sabotaging yourself, I got a lot of great stuff at the website you can check out. You can go there for one and click on the coaching tab. Just go to introvertdatingsuccess.com/coaching to sign up for a phone consultation with yours truly. I can help you out with whatever you're going through. Also go there, check out my eBooks, my audiobooks. Right now I have a special holiday discount going on for my various programs, my Smart Digital Dating program, as well as my Introvert Dating Success program. Have some great discounts going on right now at the website, so be sure to check those out. And of course, you can check out my book, No Girls for You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. Absolutely free, simply by signing up for my video coaching newsletter. Just fill in your name and email address, and you will get instant access to that book. And this is a book that's going to teach you the ins and outs of why the things you're doing right now to try to get women is actually causing you to lose them. All right. So check that out at the website. If you want to show support for this show, you can do two things. You can sign up for a subscription at my YouTube page, youtube.com/HarryWilmington. And then also, if this message or any other message that you've heard on my show thus far has proven beneficial to you and you want to show your support monetarily, you can send me a Cash App at $HarryWilmington. That's all I got for today. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I'll catch you guys on the next show. I'm out. Peace.